You can't park this here. I'm the HOA president, and I demand you move it now!
The tow truck lights were already fading into the corner when I stepped outside with my coffee still hot in my hand. The steam rising in thin, lazy curls like the morning itself had no idea what kind of chaos was about to unfold. For a second, my brain refused to process what my eyes were seeing. The curb in front of my townhouse was empty. No tires, no familiar dent on the bumper, no dusty windshield with the HOA warning sticker I'd peeled off just 2 days earlier. Just bare asphalt and the quiet hum of a suburban morning that suddenly felt way too loud. I stood there frozen, mug halfway to my lips, staring at the spot where my truck had been parked every single day for the last 3 years. Then the realization hit me like a punch to the chest. My truck was gone. Not stolen in the dramatic police chase broken glass sense. No, this was worse. This was an HOA tow. The kind that happens when someone with a clipboard and too much authority decides to make an example out of you before breakfast. I didn't even need to check my phone to know who it was. The HOA president, Mark Reynolds. The man who once fined me $50 because my grass was visually inconsistent with community standards after a heat wave turned half the lawns yellow. The same guy who sent passive-aggressive emails with phrases like, per section 8.3b, and as per our last notice, highlighted in bold, as if he enjoyed watching people squirm. I set the coffee down slowly, my jaw tightening. This wasn't the first time they'd threatened to tow my truck. According to them, it was commercial. Too large, too rugged, too much personality for their perfectly beige neighborhood. Never mind the fact that it fit within the legal parking dimensions. Never mind that half the board members had SUVs just as big. My truck had logos on it. That was the real crime. I pulled my phone out and scrolled through my messages. No warning this time. No bright orange sticker. No 24-hour notice. Just gone. That's when I smiled. Because what the HOA didn't realize, what Mark Reynolds definitely didn't realize, was that the logo on the side of my truck wasn't just decoration. It was my company. And the tow truck that just took it? Yeah. That was mine, too. I didn't rush. I didn't panic. I finished my coffee. Slowly. Calmly. Because when you've spent years dealing with entitled people who think rules only apply to everyone else, you learn that patience is far more terrifying than anger. I opened my email and right on cue, there it was. A message from the HOA sent at 6:42 a.m. Dear homeowner, your vehicle was towed this morning due to repeated violations of HOA parking regulations. Please contact the authorized towing provider listed below to retrieve your vehicle. All fees apply. Regards, HOA Board. I laughed out loud. Authorized towing provider. That was rich. I tapped the phone number listed at the bottom. It rang once before someone answered. Troy's Towing, this is dispatch. Hey, I said casually. It's Alex. There was a pause. Then, morning, boss. Morning, I replied. Quick question. Did we tow a black F-250 from Pine Ridge Estates this morning? Another pause. Longer this time. Yes. Who authorized it? The HOA president, Mark Reynolds. He called it in personally. Said it was urgent. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. Did he give a lot number? No, just the address and description. Did you verify ownership? Silence. That's what I thought, I said gently. Where is it now? Lot B. Good. Don't touch it. Don't release it. Don't charge anything. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I hung up and headed inside to grab my keys, a folder of documents I kept for special occasions, and a jacket. As I walked out, my neighbor Linda peeked through her blinds like she always did, curiosity practically dripping off her face. She stepped outside, pretending to check her mail. Morning, Alex, she said. Your truck's gone. I noticed, I replied with a grin. HOA finally got you, huh? Something like that. She squinted at me. You don't seem upset. Oh, Linda, I said, locking my door. I'm thrilled. The tow yard was already buzzing when I arrived. Engines rumbling, chains clanking, drivers moving like clockwork. My truck sat right where I expected it to, untouched, clean, exactly as I'd left it. I walked past the gate, nodded at the guys, and hopped into the driver's seat. The familiar smell of leather and diesel filled the cab. I didn't start it yet. I just sat there for a moment enjoying the irony. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? This is Mark Reynolds, a voice snapped. President of the Pine Ridge Estates HOA. You retrieved your vehicle without paying the towing fee. That's correct, I said calmly. You are required to... Mark, I interrupted. Who owns Troy's Towing? There was a pause. Excuse me? Who owns the towing company you authorized to remove my truck? Silence, then a nervous laugh. I don't see how that's relevant. I do, I said, because it's me. Another pause. This one felt heavier, like reality had just knocked on his door and he wasn't ready to answer. That's not funny, he said. I'm not joking. You can't just... I can, I replied. Because I own the truck. I own the towing company. And you authorized an illegal tow without notice, verification, or proper documentation. You violated HOA rules, he shot back, voice rising. Then you should have followed the rules too, I said. And now we're going to talk about that. By the time I pulled back into the neighborhood, people were already whispering. News travels fast when something breaks the monotony of suburban perfection. I parked my truck right back where it had been, stepped out, and waved to Linda. The HOA emergency meeting notice hit everyone's inbox less than an hour later. Mandatory attendance. I smiled. They thought this was going to be a lecture. They had no idea it was about to be a lesson. The community clubhouse had never been so full. Folding chairs scraped against the floor as neighbors squeezed in, murmuring to each other, eyes darting toward the front, where the HOA board sat stiffly behind a long table. Mark Reynolds was dead center, his jaw tight, his fingers tapping nervously against a stack of printed bylaws, like they might protect him if he held them hard enough. I walked in last. Every conversation stopped. You could feel it shift, like the air itself leaned forward. I didn't rush. I didn't look angry. I looked calm, confident. The kind of calm that makes people uncomfortable because they can't figure out where the explosion is coming from. Mark cleared his throat. This emergency meeting has been called to address a serious violation of HOA authority earlier today. I raised my hand slightly. Before you start, Mark, do you mind if I speak first? He hesitated. The room was watching. Saying no would look bad. He forced a smile. Briefly, I stepped forward, setting a folder on the table. This morning, my truck was towed from a legally parked space without proper notice, documentation, or owner verification. You were in violation, Mark cut in. Let me finish, I said calmly. He stopped. The tow was authorized by you, I continued, using a towing company I own, which means you ordered my employees to illegally tow my personal vehicle. Gasps rippled through the room. Mark's face flushed. That's irrelevant. It's not, I said, because it makes this a documented case of wrongful tow, abuse of authority, and violation of state property laws. I opened the folder and slid copies across the table. Tow regulations, HOA bylaws, state statutes, highlighted, tabbed, organized. You bypassed Section 5.2 requiring written notice, I said. Ignored Section 5.4 requiring a minimum 24-hour compliance window, and violated state code by not confirming vehicle ownership before authorizing removal. The room was silent now. Linda leaned forward in her chair, eyes wide. If I were anyone else, I continued, I'd be paying hundreds of dollars right now just to get my truck back. but because I own the tow company, there's a paper trail, recorded calls, dispatch logs, employee statements. Mark stood up. This is intimidation. No, I replied. This is accountability. Another board member shifted uncomfortably. Mark, did you follow the process? He didn't answer. I turned to the room. This isn't just about me. If it can happen to me, it can happen to any of you. Murmurs spread, heads nodded. And here's the part you really need to hear, I said. I'm not suing. Mark blinked. You're not? No, I said. But I am terminating the towing contract between Troy's Towing and Pine Ridge Estates effective immediately. One of the board members gasped. You can't do that. I can, I replied. I'm the owner, and without a towing contract, the HOA has no enforcement mechanism for vehicle removal. Mark's voice cracked. This is retaliation. It's business, I said. And frankly, it's mercy. I closed the folder. All I want is simple. A formal apology, a written policy correction, and a vote to remove unauthorized towing powers from a single individual. Every eye turned to Mark. The silence stretched. Finally, someone in the back stood up. I motioned to remove Mark Reynolds as HOA president. Seconded. Mark looked around, stunned, as hands rose one by one. The vote wasn't even close. When the meeting ended, people approached me quietly, thanking me, smiling, relieved. As I walked back to my truck under the orange glow of the streetlights, Linda waved from her porch. Guess they towed the wrong guy, she said. I smiled. They did. I climbed into my truck, started the engine, and drove home, the low rumble echoing through a neighborhood that had just learned a very important lesson. Rules work both ways.